I received the Distinguished Service Cross, which that's what this is here, and 2 Bronze Stars for Valor and 2 Purple Hearts. I got one of the Bronze Stars was for the night recon mission. And then when I found out I was in a book telling the story, then I said, why didn't I receive anything for that? And, I thought, well, maybe we went behind enemy lines and we weren't supposed to. Anyway, I asked archives for every piece of paper that had my name on it. And sure enough, there was an order for a Bronze Star for Valor. And now this was in late 1998 or so, is when because my DD Form 214 was incorrect, didn't have my DSC on it. Anyway, so like I said, I did end up with the Distinguished Service Cross and 2 Bronze Stars for Valor. For years, I thought it was 1, and 2 Purple Hearts. I was wounded twice. The first time I was wounded was, we were ambushed, and the only place myself and 3 other guys could find cover was a rice paddy berm, just a lump of dirt. And we're all laying by that rice paddy berm looking for a target, and they were firing mortars at us. You could hear thump, thump, then the explosion a few seconds later. And, I'm looking for a way to get up into the wood line, but there just was, they were firing like crazy at us. Finally, a mortar round came in, and it wounded myself and Gary Penland and Bill Yankoe and killed Frank Sutton. Well, Frank Sutton wasn't dead yet. But he was injured. He had a piece of the mortar, looked like the tail shaft of the mortar in the back of his head. And I yelled. I didn't know I was wounded. I didn't know I was hit at all. But I yelled for medic. And finally, here comes Doc Wright. He came down, and the first thing he did is took my shoulders and pushed me to the ground. And I said, Frankie's been in. And Frank's laying there, nasty sounds from his mouth. And I didn't realize, but I had a piece of shrapnel that went in kind of sideways in my scalp and went up and launched under my scalp, didn't pierce my skull, but it bled like crazy. And my whole left side was covered with blood. And I didn't even know. I had a piece in my leg and another piece in my left arm. I didn't know I was hit. So he was pushing me down to treat me, not even realizing that Frank Sutton was hit. So, of course, he started an IV on Frank, and we couldn't get helicopters in. We were air mobile, 1st Cavalry. But a personnel carrier, 113, came to our rescue. And I didn't need to be medevaced out. I was forced onto the 113. We put Frank's body on the 113, and then Penland and Yankoe and myself sat on the crew sheet on the other side as the 113's rocking and moving through brush and everything. And I never forget the sight of Frank Sutton's body with his mouth wide open and, his eyes wide open, laying there rocking back and forth on that crew seat. But as I said, that was life, and it wasn't me. It could have been me. And I feel really bad for Frank Sutton. I feel really bad for a bunch of other people that I knew. But in honor of their lives, I'm going to make the most out of this one I have. They would love to be where I am right now. So, if they're looking down and say, what's wrong with you, guy? You're alive. And that's what I said earlier. So I was nominated in 2004, and Senator Bunning at the time was because it has to go through a member of Congress. And Mike Ackerman and Don Corbin, I think, both wrote letters to McConnell and some Congress people because it has to go through. You can't present it just as an individual. And Senator Bunning read what I'd done and read the Distinguished Service Cross orders. I'm told was really impressed. He said he would be happy to present it to the Medal of Honor Committee. He did, and it was forever. I was told by Lieutenant General Ackerman that they have to make a decision within a year. So anyway, a year had passed. A year had just passed. I got a Christmas card from General Ackerman saying, well, I guess I'll see you in D.C. in the spring. And because it had been a year and they hadn't rejected it, so apparently it's a done deal. Then we heard nothing. And then I had someone locally, Ken Sly, who was very active in all military things. He was a retired helicopter pilot in the Army who went to work for the office of the Secretary of Defense and worked for 20 years with them. So he had a double retirement. Well, he knew the Inspector General at the Army at the time and contacted him and say, what happened? And apparently they rejected it and didn't let anybody know. So there was the package, which is quite involved. Plus they had to have a duplicate copy of it. He said, we don't know where the package is. Anyway, then I find out from Senator Bunning's office that it was rejected. Senator Bunning was told that. And the package was sent back to Senator Bunning, and Senator Bunning's office just threw the package away and didn't let anybody know. Anyway, the present Inspector General of the Army, the president then, said that was, he read the package. We had a duplicate copy. Well, he read it and said that it's not right. So he re-presented it. And then their line was they wanted to see the original write-up, and we had already looked for that. So they said they couldn't or didn't want to second guess the commanders in the field at the time. So that was the reason they had turned it down. So if they ever found the original write-up, like I was telling Chuck, it could say I was recommended for the Medal of Honor, but it was downgraded to the Distinguished Service Cross. Well, see, that's not a downgrade to me, I mean, I've always been proud of the fact, and, I came home and started a business and raised a family, and I was always proud, I didn't go out and tell the world, hey, I've got the Distinguished Service Cross. From what I hear from the License Bureau, I have a Distinguished Service Cross license plate, and I'm the only one in the state. So now somebody else probably has the Distinguished Service Cross in the state, but didn't get the license plate. But the license plate is free. I mean, the Medal of Honor and Distinguished Service Cross, and of course, Navy Cross, Air Force Cross, any of the crosses are free.